After an up and down week, the closure of a road trip, and the starting of a homestand, the Montreal Canadiens find themselves where they belong, back in a playoff spot.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for making us here at Locked On Canadiens and the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. We thank you for subscribing wherever you get your podcasts and for making us your first listen of the day here at Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets in the NHL all season long. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as @MaybeIt'sIan. I'm joined as I always am by Laura Saba, also known as the Active Stick. Laura, weird weekend. But it ends in a really positive way for the Montreal Canadiens. How are you feeling after that game against the Edmonton Oilers?
That was an awesome game to watch. Honestly, it's been a while. Well, that's not true. We like the Pittsburgh game. The Pittsburgh game almost got out of hand, but didn't. I think the Ranger game was not a pleasant one to watch, so I'm glad the Montreal Canadiens gave us one that was exciting and interesting. And as I say that, I realize for those of you on the YouTube, I feel like I'm wearing Ranger blue right now. I don't mean to. This is just a shirt that I was wearing today when I first started watching the Edmonton Oilers game. But honestly, I'm glad that they ended it on a high note for themselves. I thought it was really interesting to see some of the decisions that were made for that game, the lineup. But let's talk about the weekend as a whole, Ian, because I know we've got a lot to get through today.
Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll cover the weekend first. We'll cover our weekly recap, show you, we'll pick out our player of the week from each of us. And then I kind of want to talk about with the emergence of Alexander Texier and sort of Joe Veleno solidifying himself as part of this bottom six. What happens when the Canadiens get healthy? It's going to happen at some point. I know it seems like, the nuclear energy of things that we're 5 games away from being 5 games away from being healthy or whatever. But it's going to be interesting to see who goes where when the time comes. Let's start on the weekend though. I have a bone to pick with hockey at large. The Rangers, this is their centennial season, right? And I saw a lot of people pointing out, well, this is the Rangers centennial game, which is why they had all of those players out on the ice. Except no, it wasn't. They were celebrating the 70s and 80s Rangers, which means the New York Rangers are milking their centennial celebration into like several different themed nights. The Canadiens take so much crap from the rest of the league about the pomp and circumstance around, the torch and all that stuff. But like we had one centennial game and it ruled. It was incredible. It's a memory I have forever. You were there, jerk. But like the Rangers get to do 9 of these games and no one bats an eye, and Montreal does 1 and everyone rolls their eyes out of the room. I'm kind of like really upset at the concept that like the Canadiens fans can't have anything nice and the New York Rangers get to roll out dudes that nobody's ever heard of. And I found all of that to be like, I was kind of like, where's Alex Kovalev and all this? He didn't play for the Rangers in those eras, so that's why he didn't show up. But I was like, that would be the guy you bring out. The entire building would erupt because everyone in that building would have gone, yeah, that guy rules. Anyway, that's a different argument. Let's start with the Rangers game quickly. Classic Montreal Rangers game in that it really felt like Montreal didn't give their best effort. They were still leading that entire game. And then the officials go ahead and put 3 goals in the Rangers' pockets. And you go, well, we'll get them next time.
I think that was kind of a puck don't lie, but it went the other way. Usually we're the beneficiaries of that. But the Canadiens were not good. Listen, they started strong. They did start strong, I felt. And it just unraveled very quickly. And I think that they didn't deserve necessarily to win the game, but I wanted them to win that game anyway because it's the New York Rangers. And I almost said a swear word. Sorry, I did not. For those of you listening to our show in the car with your kids, we will never be saying swears on here. But I think everyone knew the sentiment. So I do think that the Montreal Canadiens did not necessarily deserve to win that game, but it really does feel like, and I know it's been pointed out, is that like when you're looking at the other games around the league, it's not just Montreal. Officiating sucks across the board, but also kind of feels like the like evening up the game or bringing the game closer kind of feels like it's a mandate and it shouldn't be. So, I don't think that Montreal is necessarily the only victim of this. I just think it's frustrating because I don't like losing to the New York Rangers, and the Canadiens seem to find ways to do it every time.
Yeah, I thought, the mandate there being keeping games close, I think, is what NHL referees operate under. It's why, last time Montreal played Edmonton, it's why that happened, right? They wanted to keep that game close in front of the home fans. You watch on a lot of these games that end like this, it's the home team that gets the benefit of the doubt because they want to keep people in seats. They want to keep concessions flowing. They don't want people to leave. Montreal goes up 3-0 in that Rangers game. And then Hutson gets in a battle with a guy twice his size in front of the net, and they both fall down, and they go, Hutson, you're the one in the penalty box, and the Rangers score. So just gifted him that one.
Noted goon, Lane Hutson.
I know. I just don't this is the thing, right? The sport has a complex when it comes to this player, which is that he's too small to defend. But also, if he takes you down, he's a monster and needs to go to the penalty box. You can't have both of these things. Panarin comes in on a partial break, and I say partial break because he was not in alone. By the time when Dobson grabbed him, they were practically side by side. If you want to call it if you want to call it a power play, fine. I still don't like the call, but I understand it. A penalty shot. By the way, that was Corey Severette, which, by the way, if I know your name as a ref, bad. Shouldn't know your name. He on the first Rangers goal, he looked so giddy pointing to the net to signal for the goal. He nearly fell out of his skates. I was like, that's embarrassing. And then, of course, they get a power play in overtime after we watched the Rangers just kind of do whatever they wanted to the Montreal Canadiens in the third period of that game. Interference, hooking, it just nonstop getting your way, hook and grab hockey that I just cannot stand. I cannot wait for maybe a year or so from now when this Rangers team is wildly irrelevant. I look at this team up and down and I go, I don't have any faith that you guys are going to be able to do anything of importance. So that doesn't bother me all that much. I hate watching the Rangers play hockey against the Canadiens. It always, always, always goes like this. The last 4 times these teams have played each other, Montreal has outscored the Rangers 13-9 at 5-on-5. They have won one of those games and it required overtime. So and people go, oh, the Rangers have a good power play. No, they don't. 28th in the league over the last 2 years. So enough. They got handed points every single time the Canadiens play against them. I don't say this about any other matchup. It is just this one. I don't really know what else to say in a game like that. I kind of thought putting Fowler into that was a mistake, if I can be honest.
I absolutely agree with you. 100%. I would have done Dobes in the Rangers, Fowler in the Edmonton game.
Yeah, I mean, knowing how knowing how games against the Rangers go, I would have just put Montembeault in there and gone, we're going to cede the 2 points and have a goaltender we're confident in the third or in the second game. We'll talk about goaltending in our weekly recap, which will now include the Edmonton Oilers game because we've gone long complaining about officiating, which again, I feel I'm just annoyed by this in the same way that I was annoyed by it the last time the Canadiens and Rangers played, where I just don't feel like the Canadiens did enough to win that game. But the officiating was also so bad, and I can't square it either way. The last thing I want to talk about with this Rangers game, and it bleeds into the Oilers game, there were a lot of people coming for Marty after that game because Joe Veleno played more than Juraj Slafkovsky. And everyone got mad at that on face value and just didn't look at the fact that Juraj Slafkovsky had his worst night in a long time. His line at 5-on-5 was the only Canadiens line with a negative shot differential at 5-on-5. And it wasn't just negative, it was all-time bad. 2 shot attempts for, 17 against at 5-on-5. They were not playable in that game. The fact that Veleno only eclipsed them by 30 seconds shows you that Marty was really trying, but he had no business to be trying to play that line. They could not figure it out in that game. So a lot of people just look at the time on ice and they have an aneurysm and they go, oh, one guy played more than the other. Brr, and they have no, there's no level of context of watch the game. I didn't think I would turn 30 and become a watch the game guy, but that's what I've gotten to. Shut up and watch the game. They were not good against the Rangers. The good news is they're very good against the Edmonton Oilers. Your last thoughts on the Rangers game, Laura, before we move on to our weekly recap?
Are we done with them yet?
No. I think we have one more against the Rangers. And I honestly might just skip it. I genuinely don't have any appetite to watch the New York Rangers play hockey.
Well, I'm going to have to watch it then.
I find them to play just a brand of hockey that just stinks. There's nothing fun about the way they play. They look miserable. JT Miller wearing a captaincy is one of the most laughable things in the sport right now. And I have no appetite to watch that team play hockey anymore. I just, especially when they've got the refs in their back pocket the entire game.
Maybe as a fan base, we can just boycott. Like, nobody buy tickets to that game, nobody watch it, nobody go. We just boycott the Rangers until they stop making the Habs play them. Obviously,
I don't want to do it anymore, and nobody can make me. All right, we'll leave that there, and we come back. We'll hit our weekly recap, including the Canadiens' big win against the Edmonton Oilers and our star of the week, and we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in that spot where you need the right hire like yesterday. The pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. And that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now, you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. The show's also sponsored by Farm to Fork. If you're a fan of premium locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more, all with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms, so when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian. Farm to Fork's meats are top-notch. I've had some amazing steaks that were tender, juicy, and perfectly cooked. Their chicken is air-chilled, so it's fresher and more flavorful than what you'll get in the store. And the wild-caught seafood is a game changer. It's fresh, clean, and full of flavor, and it's my absolute favorite. They're delivering all across Ontario and Western Quebec, and the best part, delivery is free with a minimum order of $199. You don't even have to leave the house to get this kind of quality. I've got a special code just for you. Use LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farmtoforkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order at farmtoforkdelivery.ca. Farm to Fork, delicious locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day, and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We really do love saying that. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Canadiens with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, Laura, I'm just going to pop it up immediately for those who are watching.
The mic meter.
The mic meter has to come up.
It's magical.
Mike Matheson, and to an extent, we'll throw Noah Dobson in here as well. We don't have a fun bit for Noah Dobson. Maybe one day we do. Dobs on or Dobs off. I don't know. We'll work on it, workshop it. That's just what came to mind. Yeah. Mike Matheson was unbelievable in this game, and it had nothing to do with offense. He was tasked with shutting down Connor McDavid, and Connor McDavid got 1 point on the power play in garbage time. What he was able to do in this game, the scale goes up to 5. I'm giving him, what's Connor McDavid cap hit, like $13.5 million? Well, I'm giving him $13.5 million. Like that's where
out of 5.
Out of 5. I constantly keep seeing fans being like, I don't know why they extended him. We have so many guys in the pipeline that are on the way. The reason why you extend Mike Matheson is because he's this guy now.
Yeah. Adam
Engstrom might be this guy in the future. Mike Matheson is this dude right now. You need him now. It's important for this team to make the playoffs. I don't know how else to say that we love this guy and that they would be completely toast without him. Just an incredible effort from him. I think he really relishes these moments, Laura. Yes. I think Mike Matheson really, truly loves being a shutdown defenseman and just seeing one guy. He would have been if he was an NFL player, he'd be like a perfect corner or a safety or a corner, like a cornerback in the NFL is just like, I'm locked in on your number one wide receiver. They're not scoring on me. That's Mike Matheson. What else did you like from that Edmonton game? And then we'll sort of figure out our overall thoughts on the week. So what did you love from the Edmonton game?
Uri Slafkovsky bouncing back after a tough game. Yeah, I think that was really big. He was great. Honestly, like I felt like the whole team kind of had a compete level. There were some hairy moments. I'm not going to lie. There were some, what is that guy doing? Again, no swearing on this podcast. Those of you with kids in the car, hi children. But Josh Anderson kind of, what was that?
Right. Yeah. That was crazy. And he was, I think you're talking about the penalty that he took on Darnell Nurse.
First or the second? It was at the end of the
second period. And I think he thinks that Darnell Nurse should get called for interference, but the rule is as long as you're moving and skating in the direction that the player is that you're interfering with, so to speak, you're not interfering with him. So I don't know what Josh Anderson was upset about. But anyway, the penalty kill was phenomenal. They gave up one, obviously, in garbage time. But I thought, they had that full 2-minute 5-on-3. This game could have been toast immediately.
Yes.
The power play shut them down. Jakub Dobes was phenomenal. On the night, he was 27 for 28. Really, really needed that from him. And he looked confident in there.
Yes.
The one play from him that I look back on from this is a puck gets burped out in front of the net. There's one Oiler there, and Dobes recognizes it immediately. Powerful push off of his post, comes to the top of his blue paint. There's no net to shoot at that point. And he didn't slide completely, with no abandon. He seemed to be moving with purpose in this game. He wasn't just completely losing his net like we had seen. Mm-hmm. Really loved this from Dobes. But I will say the last thing I'll say about this game in particular, and then we'll cover the week as a whole. I really, really like just the team defense in this. I know we put a lot on Mike Matheson and what he was able to accomplish in this game, and rightfully so. He was phenomenal.
Yes.
But I think there was a team effort and a conscious effort from everybody on the roster to kill plays before they developed.
Yes.
To knock pucks off of sticks, to play really aggressively on the boards. I thought they won a lot of board battles in this game, which is an area that
out. Also,
what's that?
The numbers bear all of that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the last two Stanley Cup finals have proven that if you're going to beat the Edmonton Oilers, you're beating them in the alley, right? Yeah. You're beating them in the rough parts of the game. And I thought it was odd that they took out Arbor Xhekaj and were still able to dominate in that area of the game.
Yeah, they were protecting the puck like Marty asked them to. He didn't ask them very nicely, but they did it anyway.
Yeah, and the worst turnover of the night came from the greatest player on the planet in Connor McDavid. Yeah. Second greatest player. I think he's behind Nathan MacKinnon at this point. I think Nathan MacKinnon is
just like, I don't know what's happened to him, but he's just like, it's like, when you're playing a video game and you like get like a turbo boost.
Yeah.
That's him right now.
Yeah. Speaking of video game, I posted this on Blue Sky in the middle of the Rangers game. I think it was on his second assist, and this is why he's my player of the week. Lane Hutson is on some video game stuff right now, Laura. I don't know what's gotten into him. The last 3 games, he has 2 assists in each of them. Yeah. He's just racking up points. I also found it interesting that the last 3 games, the Canadiens have trailed for exactly 0 seconds. They have not trailed at all in any of their last 3 games. They still lost the one against the Rangers because that's how, hockey works sometimes. Yeah.
It be like that sometimes.
Sometimes you don't think it'd be like that, Laura, but it do. So Lane Hutson, for that reason, my star of the week. Do you have a star of the week that differs from mine?
I think Lane Hutson's pretty good. I do want to give an honorable mention to Jacob Fowler. It's a little bit pandery, but I do want to, he got thrown into a really rough situation, handled it beautifully.
Maybe we should have a second category, which is the story of the week, because I think Jacob Fowler is undoubtedly the story of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. But ho-hum, 6 points in 3 games for Lane Hutson. I guess that's pretty good.
What a bum.
I know. Pick it up, dude. I was like, one day he's going to have a Norris, and it could be really soon. And I was like, Cale Makar exists. That's going to be really difficult to overcome. Like, you're going to have to catch Cale Makar in a down year.
I know, but we're going to get to this when we talk about the trivia later. We're going to get to this. So I have some things to say.
Oh, boy. All right, cool. Well, we'll leave that there. Then when we come back, I want to talk about some of the guys who are making an impression in the bottom 6 or just throughout this lineup, and what happens to those guys when the Canadiens finally get healthy. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Like when the Bills trailed by 21 on Sunday against the New England Patriots, that's sort of where a live spread might shift. The money lines would adjust instantly, player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. Keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, we are back. Let's cover off on this. So the reason I'm bringing this up, the idea of what happens when the Canadiens get healthy, is two players have played their way into my heart in a certain sense. One is Joe Veleno, which I did not expect, but he's been excellent at the draw. He's been a strong penalty killer. He scored in this game thanks to an assist from future Montreal Canadiens Connor McDavid. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be funny. And I think Alex Texier has made himself part of this roster. I think over the last, couple games, he's really found his stride. He's found what's going to make him successful on this team. I kind of think of him as a less defensively inclined Yoel Armia. Maybe a little bit quicker, but the hands and the shot are very similar to me. I think that makes him, that kind of analog. I don't think I'll be using him on the penalty kill like we would have with Armia, but I think that it's that flavor of player. But all of that said, the Canadiens are going to get healthy at some point in the season. Mostly looking at Kirby Dach, who skated in full gear last week. So we're approaching a time where maybe he's back at practice. Alex Newhook, who isn't expected back until the middle of March. Who else am I forgetting here? On defense, it's Caden Gooley, who we're still expecting to come back at some point. He'll probably not be back until mid-January at the earliest. So looking at the roster, like you put Dach and you put Newhook back into the lineup as well. And Line A will get healthy at some point. I can't believe I forgot Line A. I'm literally wearing a Line A jersey. How do you make all of this work? Because you're going to put Dach back in, you're going to put Newhook back in, and given what we have, that leaves one spot. Are we scratching Texier? Are we scratching Veleno? What happens when all these guys get healthy, especially at forward? Defense is a little more straightforward, but Laura, what are your thoughts?
Defense is two guys. It's either going to be Struble or it's going to be our Brzezinski guy.
Yeah, cool.
Guys.
We covered that base. It's over. Yeah, we're done with that. Let's look at the forwards.
I think Texier has the inside track given what he's done so far. I think if he stays remotely at this level for the next few weeks, then it's really just it's his to lose at this point. Joe Veleno will remain the odd man out. I know, like a lot of fans have been really hard on him. And I know the last little while he's really been kind of endearing himself a little bit more to some of the fans, not all of the fans. Sure. Although I did see a Joe Veleno appreciation post go by when I was doom scrolling earlier. So I think the fans are kind of warming to him a little bit, but I just think he ends up being the odd man out. I think Texier is the one who stays. And I think there's going to be a lot of nights where they prefer to play Texier over somebody like Line A, for example.
That was going to be my question, because I, as the president of the Patrick Laine fan club, I still have a really hard time finding a spot for him on this roster.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what we can expect to get from him on any given night, on any given shift.
Yeah.
So it's really confusing to me. The one way that I think the Canadiens can find him a spot back in this lineup is if they do this. So the first line, you get Dach back, and the first line becomes Caulfield, Suzuki, Dach on the wing. Because that's when Dach looked his best, was when he was with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Second line, you can put Slavkovsky back there, and Slavkovsky, Kapanen, Demidov. I think you let them cook, and by the time the playoffs start, if the Canadiens are fortunate enough to get in, they're probably at a point where maybe they're feeling a little bit more comfortable. Then I think you go you go line A, new hook, winger. I think maybe Anderson, maybe Gallagher. You then can slide Evans down to the fourth line, and you can play Evans, Texier, and Anderson, Gallagher, whichever one you didn't put on the third line. And that puts Veleno on the outside looking in. But again, that might be something that you can swap on a given basis.
Where did we put Bolduc?
I completely forgot about Bolduc, and maybe that's really not good for him. Like, I think I formulated what it is about Bolduc that I really have a hard time with, and it's why I really don't love him on that first line, but he might be effective somewhere else. The play dies on his stick. Sometimes that's good, because sometimes it means it's a scoring chance and he's getting a shot. But too many times he's trying to carry the mail through the neutral zone or in the offensive zone, and he's just not able to do anything with it, and the puck goes back the other way. So if you had to ask, like, if I had to put him somewhere, he probably goes in instead of Texier or Line A at that point. But, like, I still have, like, Bolduc is going to be a good player. I'm not worried about the long-term output of this player. But in the immediate sense, I don't know what to do with him, and I don't think Marty knows what to do with him, because I think even Marty knows it doesn't really work for him on that top line.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and he's had moments, but it's not consistent. And I think that we have to just remember that Newhook is not coming back until, let's say, the playoffs if the Canadiens make it, right? Like we say, we're expecting him in mid-March, but that injury was bad. So
sure. It's true.
So I feel like this is a thing where, like, Marty's like, I'm going to worry about that in 2 months. Like, this is a problem for 3 months from now, Marty. It's not a problem for me right now, right?
Yeah.
And so with Bolduc, again, there's going to be guys that fall off this roster at the end of this year or the following year. So, like, Bolduc will find himself a home. And I strongly feel like his home is third or fourth line.
Yeah, I do too. I think right now that's where he fits. And maybe one day he's a second line impact sort of power forward. Yeah. I also think we have to keep into consideration here. Frank Cervalli is reporting that the Canadiens are still very much interested in Veleno and trying to bring him home. And
somebody goes back.
Right. Somebody's got to go back the other way, and I wonder who it is, just to make the contracts work. And just because I don't think that the Kings want to get rid of a body and not replace, that kind. I know Danault hasn't had a ton of production, but he has been valuable for them defensively.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they want to just completely move on from that. So imagine, they get Danault, this whole situation looks different.
Yeah.
And it's tough to know what this shapes out to be. I will say, watching Evans penalty kill in this game against Edmonton, it very much reaffirmed my belief in the player that he can be that guy. He had struggled for a little bit. He's won more faceoffs shorthanded than anyone else in the league. And I wonder if they can add a secondary guy who can do that. Is that something that keeps Nick Suzuki off of the power play?
Yes.
Is that something that allows you to take a Joe Veleno out of the lineup? Yeah. Right? Like that, there are parts here that can continue to shift and move around, and we'll see where everything lays out. Any final thoughts on whenever the Canadiens can get healthy, what this team looks like?
My thought is that I'm glad that I don't have to make any of these decisions.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to make these on a show with a microphone in front of me, knowing that there's really no consequences to any of the fake decisions that I make or that you make here. So Kent and Jeff have their work cut out for them, and we'll see what they decide to do. All right, let's leave that there. Let's head to our trivia. Friday's question was: Lane Hutson is the second fastest active defender to get 20 multi-point games. Since this happened, by the way, he had 2 more. So just the kind of dude that Lane Hutson is. Who is the only active defender to do it faster? Do you have the answer to this one, Laura?
Yes, it's Cale Makar.
It is one Cale Makar. I think he is going to be one of the only foes keeping Lane Hutson from Norris trophies in the near future. But I think as the Canadiens get stronger offensively, it's only a matter of time.
I think that there will be, he will be in the conversation perennially. I think it'll always be. I mean, Cale Makar is just like a cheat code, right?
Yeah, it's unreal.
Cale Makar is also on a much better team. We do have to say that part. It's not a nice thing to say, but that is part of it. But I also think that, every time I turn around, there's another thing in which Lane Hutson and Cale Makar are part of the same conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so I do have that thing to say where it's like, I don't understand what more this kid has to prove, right? He's going to be one of the best defensemen in the league for the next 10, 20 years, right? Because every single time you turn around, he's either like following in Cale Makar's footsteps, being compared to him. And I'm not saying he's as good. I'm not saying he's better. We're not there yet. And we might never get there. But he's in that same conversation. And I don't know very many guys that you had this many instances of them being in the same conversation. So I personally feel that Lane Hutson, he's going to be fine. He might not win a Norris if Cale Makar's around and healthy, etc. But he'll still be a finalist.
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe there's a lot of voter fatigue too. They like to find reasons not to give it to certain guys. I think that's going to be part of it. Boondoggle, Super Rain, and Joe Segreto with the correct answers on that one. All right, today's question in honor of Alexandre Texier, who scored twice this week. Before Texier, who was the last player to represent France at the World Championships and score a goal for the Montreal Canadiens? So who was that player? So the last player to represent France at the World Championships, which means they play for France on a national stage, and also score a goal for the Montreal Canadiens. If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Let us know any way you know how, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode of the show. And that is going to do it for us today on Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for tuning in and for making us your first listen of the day and for subscribing wherever you get your podcast. Doing that supports us here on the show and ensures you do not miss an episode. Did Locked On Canadiens make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. I want to emphasize that point because some people have been reaching out to us at Locked On Canadiens and asking us to give them codes. We cannot do that. You need to reach out to the Locked On Podcast Network national account on any social platform. So their logo will be green. It'll say Locked On Podcast Network. Go check them out. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. You can find us everywhere we're posting things at Locked On Canadiens, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok primarily. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. You can find Laura at The Active Stick. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow with our weekly forecast.